how did you come up with the concept of creating the Abridged series?
Well, we didn't come up with the concept. It was actually Martin Little a young British gentleman, and he came up with Yu-Gi-Oh! Abridged. It was essentially taking Yu-Gi-Oh!, the collectible card game anime, and replacing all of the music, all of the dialogue, all of the original script, and just making it a comedy and cutting it down. Basically, a couple of us, myself, Curtis Arnott, Nick Landis, we were doing our own versions of the show, of our own shows, like G Gundam, Loop on the Third, and Yu Yu Hakusho. And when it came down to it, my friend Taka, or Curtis, asked me, hey, if you could be doing any series besides Loop on the Third, what would you be doing? And I told him, well, Dragon Ball was the series I grew up with. And, Nick Landis had been doing the show for a long time, and, we were basically already friends, acquaintances at the time. So we had a long conversation, and Nick basically agreed to do it as long as he was one of the writers and he had to play Vegeta. So, and that's how it all got started, basically. I mean, if you want the abridged version.
So how long does it take to record or redub an episode?
The creation of an episode involves the script writing process, the recording process with the actors, the editing process, and the script writing and the direction can take about the same amount of time as the editing. Well, to a certain extent. The editing can take anywhere between 60 and 80 hours. And I'd say about the full process can take anywhere between 80 and 100. But it's all about maybe 2 or 3 4-hour scripting sessions, and then the direction of all the actors. And I'm the director, the voice director for all of that. And really, it's all about getting everyone together in a timely manner, because sometimes it's like herding cats. We have to set up scheduled scripting times, but for the voice actors, who knows when they might be available. And then for the editing, it's me and a big old sit down for a couple of days. So there have legitimately been times where I've woken up in the morning, sat down at the computer, and with the exception of stretching and eating, I'd be brushing my teeth, shutting down my computer, and then going to bed. That could be how some of my days would go. So.
What I noticed is that when you first started with the DVC Abridged series, is that you guys were putting out episodes more frequently than you are now currently. Yeah. It feels like more recently, it feels like you will have to wait months for an episode.
It's not by design, I assure you. And a lot of people think it's because we've been doing other projects, but that's actually not it. It's been a combination of things. We have been expanding because if we stagnated any longer than we already were, there was a possibility that we just weren't going to grow as a company. Expansion was a necessary part of us continuing to do what we are. We had to start doing new shows. We had to get a new workspace. We had to move to a new location to centralize ourselves. Not to mention, and I won't lie, our lives can be really hectic, not just because of our work, but our health and our relationships with other people. Sometimes things just go really wrong and you have to go in for a major medical procedure. I actually had a really bad problem at the end of last year and the beginning of this year that caused me to miss a lot of work. A couple of our members have been moving to different locations. Curtis Arnott is going to be moving to Vancouver, and he's had to literally travel every weekend down to Vancouver up from Prince George. It's an 8-hour drive and a 2-hour flight. So it's been a little bit difficult for us to keep the workflow consistent. We're trying our best now to actually segment some of the work. We hire on a bunch of new people on Patreon just to make sure that we scale down the time between episodes, because that's what we want to do. We want to make sure that there's at least one episode coming out a month. The periods where it takes more than 1 month are special, or that's something big happened, or we have a huge movie coming out. History of Trunks was a 3-month period where it should have just been a month and a half to 2 months. But again, that was also during a time where I was having really bad lower intestinal issues. I had a lot of doctors on that one. Not to mention, our episodes have gotten longer. They used to be 5, 6, 7 minutes. Now they're somewhere between 10 and 14. So we've been releasing a couple of shorter episodes lately just to make sure that they can get done and out. And not to mention, we're also trying to pace the next part of the saga out. But we are going to work much harder over the next couple of months to make sure that we're getting at least one episode out a month. No stop.
So this is why I write in forums, is that in the beginning with the Frieza saga, like that whole arc, and the Saiyan saga, it was like you guys weren't too much involved in the plot and the story, but more of a parody of the characters themselves, and basically creating your own story. But now you're kind of following with the Cell saga. It's like you're actually following the plot of Cell. Is there any reason why you?
No, to be fair, in the Frieza saga, we followed the plot. I mean, there was no getting away from the events that actually took place. There were some things we took liberty with, but things did go by maybe at a faster click. But the bigger thing has been there's just too much going on, and too many things are reliant on other characters for us to cut a whole lot, especially since there are a lot of characters in the saga, like the androids kind of just pop up and disappear actually relatively quickly. They're only around for a couple of episodes. Everyone remembers them as these big characters, but there was a lot less footage to work with than you think. So it matters to us that we get into a lot of the nitty-gritty, that we explore a lot of these things, because there's just a lot of room for comedy, for character development, and not to mention the actual evolution of the series proper is that things got a lot more serious come the Cell saga. I mean, you had an evil bug monster going around devouring people. The 3 androids themselves are the most human-looking villains that you've had in the entire series. I mean, it just came down to the tone, the necessities of the story, and we've been trying to keep it a comedy no matter what. Like our main goal is to make people laugh, but our secondary goal is to make sure that they're entertained. Like, we want to make sure that they're still enjoying what they're watching, that they're getting a whole lot out of our versions of these characters and their interactions together. I mean, the scene with the Kiko scene with Tenshinhan actually is one of my favorite scenes because it's a combination of funny, exciting, and makes commentary on the original that the human characters are slowly left in the dust. So that was a big scene for me, even though it wasn't this huge funny scene. It was still a big scene that talked about the original, that explored it and deconstructed it, and so we're definitely trying to make sure that we keep it funny though. And as we get into Perfect Cell, you'll see a lot more flamboyance and oddness that maybe was missing a little bit in the last bit of the arc.
So are you guys also working on the new movie?
Movie 7?
Like Resurrection of Frieza?
We're not touching either of those movies, at least not currently. The fact of the matter is there are just a lot of characters like Adult Gohan and Videl and a bunch of other characters that we haven't even gotten into to touch those movies. It just wouldn't be appropriate at this time.
Okay, and so are there any other secret projects that you could really give us hints on?
I believe if there were secret projects, I certainly couldn't talk about. But we do have some stuff that we're working on. Things that are on different stages. Some that are just ideas. Some that we're in talks with people about. But I can't say any of those because obviously I don't want to give either anyone any false hope in case they fall through, or they're not technically our ideas, but we're still helping with them. So those are for other people to talk about. And so ultimately, I can say that we have stuff besides a bridge series in the works. Like, that is a big thing, is that we don't plan on just doing a bridge series for the rest of our careers. We want to do things outside of that, things that talk about the fandoms, or the projects, or the ideas, the genres that we love, but are also more personal and don't use other people's material. So you'll see.
So is it going to be an original series?
Whatever we work on, as we break out, we definitely want them to be original. We're not done with abridged content, but we want that to be a secondary part as we move forward. Dragon Ball Z Abridged will always be our keystone project. That will be the center. That will definitely be something that not only do we work on, we make sure is as good as it can be. But we need to expand outward, because what we're doing is not necessarily a dying business, but it's not going to bring us as far as we want to get. It's not going to help us expand to the extent that we want to.
Okay. So do you have any ideas of where you want to go with an original series? Like, is it live action, or is it going to be animated?
I would almost certainly say it's going to be animated. Although there is a live action series that Curtis Takahata 101 is working on. But I can't really talk about that. That's his project. It should still, if it's not Team 4-Star, it will be affiliated with us. But yeah, it should turn out really well. He's a fantastic writer, and he's actually got a fantastic visual team on it. Make a Steak Man's working with them. Not a lot of people have heard of Make a Steak Man, which is amazing to me because his visual design is brilliant, and he's a fantastic filmmaker. So I'm hoping with Taka's writing, his filmmaking, and the talented people that he's surrounded himself with, he'll create something wonderful.
So let's talk about anime in general, right? The scene. So anime's been around for many, many years.
Yeah.
It just recently just blew up and became this huge new pop culture.
Yeah.
So what would you recommend for people who have never seen anime before? Like, what would be the first anime that they should really go see?
That's a damn difficult question. But I would definitely say check out Cowboy Bebop. I mean, I know that's such a cheap, easy answer, but it's never going to be wrong. Cowboy Bebop is one of those anime that is not only so very good, but it's also got a bit of a Western feel to it. I mean, that dub works so well with that series because it really feels like an American, an American setting. You know, although it's actually very multicultural. That's the best part about it, is that it's not just American, even with the cowboy aesthetic. I mean, there's bits of Chinese culture, there's bits of Indian culture. It really tries to hit on all sorts of different philosophies and subjects. But by and large, I mean, you just have a very big American overtone with its musical themes, with its, with a lot of the language that they use. So, Cowboy Bebop is a fantastic place for them to start because it'll ease them into the different kind of art, the different art styles, some of the different themes that anime can really approach, or at least more often than not approaches more than American animation. And after that, you have a whole slew of different things you can try with. I mean, if you have a younger audience, Dragon Ball is not a bad place to start. I mean, Dragon Ball's got a fantastic, it hit off because it's got a lot of action, character. It's definitely a good place to start with kids.
One last question,
Yes.
right, before we wrap up. Any promotional material you want to promote before?
Yeah, sure. I mean, if nobody has ever seen any of Dragon Ball Z Abridged, Hellsing Ultimate Abridged, or a new series of Final Fantasy VII Machine Abridged, please do check out our website at www.team4star.com or our YouTube channel at Team 4-Star. We also have a gaming channel, TFS 2 Saiyans, or you can just put in TFS Gaming. Luckily, we actually have, that'll send you right to our gaming channel now. So, that's basically it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.